Lots of people here, which is brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. So you might be brand new to the Nature Park. You might have been with us since the early days back in October 2023 when we launched, or you might have joined somewhere along the way, or just wanted to know what is this all about. So you're all very welcome today, and thank you for being here. So I'm just going to kick things off. I'm going to say a little bit about what Nature Park is, where we're at in terms of participation, how to get started if you are new, and what we've got in store this year. And we're going to then hear, you'll see on the next slide, from Tom, who's going to talk about the exciting community science aspects of Nature Park, and then from Victor about all the excellent teaching resources we've got on our website. And I'm Jess, so we're all based at the Natural History Museum, as you can see, but we work very closely with lots of other partner organisations, including Royal Horticultural Society, Learning Through Landscapes, and lots of other leading organisations. Do feel free to put any questions in the Q&A. So our colleagues Laura and Tegan are managing that during the webinar. And they'll also be putting in some links in the chat to things that we're talking about. So keep an eye on that. And we are recording this, so you'll be able to access it afterwards or share it around. So I'm then going to talk about what is Nature Park, particularly for those who are new or want a little refresher. So it was commissioned by the Department for Education. And as I said, there's a big partnership of organisations, so it's led by Natural History Museum with RHS and lots of others. It's all about getting children and young people outdoors, exploring their education sites, thinking together how to improve them for people and planet using evidence, and being part of a really exciting, trailblazing, real-life community science project. Embedding climate and nature throughout the curriculum, and while doing all this, improving health and well-being of students and also staff, and then building lots of skills for the future for young people. So quite a lot. We're doing a lot here. We're ambitious. The idea is this is transformational. We've then got a little reminder about who is it for. So it's free. So it's aimed at schools, nurseries and colleges across England, and we're particularly focused on adding green to grey spaces. So that might be concrete playgrounds, and it's those types of spaces that have the potential to see the biggest nature gains. And we've also designed this so that it's for spaces regardless of size. So this really is for any education setting to get involved with. The resources that go with the programme, they're suitable for educators, whatever your background or subject is. And then we've got lots of webinars, tutorials to guide you through the process. We've got a big resource library, ever growing, spans lots of different subject areas. And Victor's going to talk a bit about that later on. And then we've piloted and we keep testing all the resources and the programme with a variety of education settings so that we know that it can fit into the school day and support delivery of lessons and the curriculum. And it's been designed with children, young people in mind from early years, foundation stage, through to key stage 5. So a little bit now on where we're at. So we've got over I was just checking in our database, we've got over 7,500 schools, nurseries and colleges across England registered. And then of those, over 3,100 are a green glowy dot on our homepage map. That means they've done their site boundary. And then over 1,200 of those have been busy mapping their habitats. Tom will talk a bit more about that. And together have mapped that amazing figure, 12 million square metres, which is getting up close to 10,000 Olympic swimming pools. It's a big area. That's our point there. And yeah, we'll hear a bit more about Tom on how that all contributes to the science of Nature Park. Then got a little bit on how to get started if you are new, or perhaps if you're wanting to get colleagues involved, or you're wanting to share this with settings that you're working with or in touch with. So there's loads of ways you can get involved. The idea is this is flexible. As I said, it is for a lot of different types of settings and students. And also Nature Park is never done. It's cyclical, it's a journey. And we're really keen that as many from your community, school, nursery or college community are involved. So that might take some time and planning. So there's no one size fits all is what I'm trying to say. But we have got a new Get Started page. So you can see that right at the top of the website, there's an orange button, and there's a few suggestions there of how you might get started in a way that suits you. The real first thing is to register yourself and try and get colleagues to do that as well. Get your site boundary done, and then your data is part of Nature Park. And then get your students outside exploring, mapping your current habitats. Just picked out here as well the resource library for teaching staff to look at. Victor will say more about that in a minute. And then also we've got 9 brilliant regional teams. They are from Royal Horticultural Society and Learning Through Landscapes, and you can get in touch with them, and they will not only support you with Nature Park, but they will also help you connect with the other Department for Education sister climate programmes. So that's the Climate Ambassadors and Let's Go Zero Climate Advisors, depending on what you're after. So you contact any one of those programs and we will join you up with the others. And before I hand over to Tom, just a little sneak preview of a few things we've got coming up. So we're still a really young program. We're learning and developing all the time, a bit like all the young people we're working with. And that means we're bringing new things on, we're revising things, revisiting all the time. So first up is we've got our annual report looking back at last year. That's coming out next month. There'll be a snapshot version and a longer version. That's really great for sharing with senior leaders, governors, and maybe people in local authorities to help explain to them what Nature Park is and why we want as many settings doing this as possible. Over the course of last year, early years experts from Learning Through Landscapes, along with RHS and museum colleagues, have been working hard on an early years bespoke package. So they've been consulting on it, developing that. If you're from that sector and you register for Nature Park, then you will get a specific monthly newsletter flagging relevant early years support and resources. This next bit's really exciting. This is something that I know a lot of people have been asking about, and behind the scenes, lots of people have been working really hard on this. Also from Esri, which is the GIS company that we've been working with on the digital tools. So the Nature Park map is a place where you will be able to see all the Nature Park data in one place. And so you can look at data collected by your own setting with your learners, but also that by other settings. And then you'll be able to see links to data that you might like to collect. So you can all be kind of learning from each other on what you've been doing on your site. And then we really hope you'll use that with your learners to explore what you've done, what other people have been collecting. And it should help you also with improving your site, because there's a sketch tool that can be used. That will be available for anyone to use, and there'll be no login wall. And that should be coming out really, really soon. There's just final tweaks being made at the moment. Fourth thing here we've just picked out is our grassland survey, which hoping to release in early March in spring. So we've already got pollinator count, and so this is the next biodiversity survey we're adding, and that will mean you can get a more in-depth look at grasslands on your site after mapping that habitat, and get learners out looking for different indicator plants. Also tell you about the state of the grassland on your site, and then you can make more evidence-based decisions. And all that data also feeds into scientists at the museum and elsewhere to get an idea of state of grassland across the whole education estate. So that's a few things coming up. I'll now hand over to Tom.
Thank you very much, Jess. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the science behind Nature Park and the data that Jess has just referred to. So yeah, the Nature Park map is going to be a place for you to visualize all the data associated with Nature Park, but what is that data and why is it important? Well, if you've had any interaction with the Nature Park program before or watched any of our webinars, which you can all find on our YouTube channel, alongside a lot of other videos, we always reference the fact that all the primary and secondary schools in England combine their size combines to 2 times the size of Birmingham, and no one really knows what is on their educational estate. So that's a huge area in England that no one really knows what's on it and has really rarely been studied. So this is a huge opportunity to learn what's going on in terms of biodiversity, in terms of the climate, and in terms of nature on that site. And that's where yourselves and your learners come in. You guys are the ones collecting all that data that you're not only using to help yourself for those evidence-based actions, but also contributing to really, really important data sets that's all made up from data collected by your learners. That's critical information. We're hearing so much in the news about what's happening with habitat loss, biodiversity loss, and if we are looking at the educational state, we might see that there's actually more biodiversity out there, more habitats out there that's living on the educational state than we ever thought was possible. So lots and lots of opportunity for lots and lots of really valuable data collection. As I said, and as Jess mentioned, the data is not only forming real world data sets, really, really important data, but it's letting you make evidence-based action and changes on your site. So let's say, for example, you want to put a planter somewhere on your site. Different plants have different growing conditions, different areas that they might like. By you going out and collecting data, say doing our shade mapping activity, or doing your habitat mapping, or doing our pollinator count activity, you might see where the potential right conditions are on your educational site for that planter. And then if anyone asks you, why did you decide to put it here and not there? You can point to the evidence that you have collected alongside your learners. So really, really important, not only for real world data sets, but for yourselves as well. Through these data sets, we can do a lot of modeling and measuring of nature gains. So if we see, from your baseline habitat mapping, which I'll mention in a second, we could then get a model of, well, if X, Y, and Z happened across the educational state, these are potential nature gains that we could see, but also with people hopefully making those improvements, say putting in planters or any number of things, we can also measure those gains as well. And I mentioned that as the learners, we want to be the ones collecting that data. So yourself and your learners becoming community scientists and finding out all that information. And we've already started to find out quite a number of different things. So just a few little stats already. Across the Nature Park program, we've had 4,207 biological records made. You can see an image of one right here. That's an olive crescent moth, which is a moth that's a bit rarer to see. The larvae feeds on dead leaves. There's a huge amount of nature that's living on the educational state. Things like this olive crescent moth. Those are records that would never be found or seen otherwise, and those are ones that are being made by the learners that you work with. Also some information on habitats before we talk a little bit about habitat mapping. Through the program, we've already, learners have already documented 300,000 meters squared of meadow, almost 1 million meters squared of woodland, and about 66 kilometers of hedges and wildlife hedges. Those are huge habitats that also make up a lot of corridors as well. And as we're hearing about habitat fragmentation, those wildlife corridors are critical. So now talking a little bit about the habitat mapping. Oh, next slide, please. Thank you. So the value of the habitat mapping, it allows an estimation for the existing biodiversity for individual sites in the nature park overall. For those different habitat categories that you're mapping, we can use different models, and the Predicts program at the museum, which we do have a blog about that on the website, where we can give an estimate of the biodiversity that we would expect to see in those sorts of habitats. Biodiversity can also be measured directly through the nature park activities as well as the habitat mapping. So things like a pollinator count, the grassland survey that will be coming out in the future, all this biological recording, that's a way of your learners directly measuring the biodiversity that you have on your site, which pairs very well with the indirect measuring through the habitat mapping. This also gives us the potential to predict the gains that you might see if certain changes are made. So that is sort of the hope for the program, that you could say, okay, we have an area of grey, and if we change it to say, we tear up the tarmac and we change it to an area of wildflowers, or we put a pond in there, what sort of biodiversity could we expect to see? And that's a hugely, hugely exciting piece of work. Next slide, please. Another reason why the habitat mapping and your learners doing this on the ground is really important is because you can get a lot of information from satellite data, but there are a lot of mistakes that happen, and resolution can be low. So if you look on the left-hand side, for example, you can see a land cover map that's identified a piece of freshwater and arable land. Well, the map on the right is the habitat mapping that has been done by the students. So this is Co-op Academy right here, and you can clearly see by looking at the map on the right, and this is them, the students out there doing it on the ground in the area where the satellite data thinks there's freshwater. It's actually ground without plants, so it's probably a playground. And then the area around the playground, the satellite has identified as arable land, so farmland, but is their playing field and also a bit more playground. So that's a huge variety, and that's another reason why it's so important for your learners to be out there looking at the habitats. Next slide, please. So how do you get started? Once you've joined the Nature Park program, or if you've already joined the Nature Park program, the first thing to do is to create your site boundary. You can see an example of a site boundary here on the right. It is that green outline. You're creating a site boundary of all the indoor and outdoor space that you have on your school site, and you can do it for multiple sites as well. So if you have, say, your main school site and a playing field, you can draw as many site boundaries as you need. So it's really important. It gets you on the national map, all those green dots that Jess mentioned, but it also means that any data that you collect within that boundary automatically gets linked to your URN. So then, for example, in the future, when we're working on ways with potentially downloading data and you enter your URN, then you could see all the data associated with your school, which again helps for reporting those evidence-based actions as well. All you need to create your site boundary is just to know your boundary and then know your settings URN. You don't need to know anything other than that. And as I mentioned, you can have multiple sites for your setting. Next slide, please. As Jess mentioned, we're an evolving program, and we've been doing a lot of learning as time has gone by, and we've really improved the supporting resources that we have for digital tools. So just like we did last year, we'll be having several webinars this year on habitat mapping, how to, the technical aspects of it, but how to make sure that your learners are at the heart of it. And what we've also done is we've created a story map, and this provides a step-by-step guide with a lot more sort of short form videos on specific things. So it'll be a guide for all the digital tools. So creating a site boundary, habitat mapping, the tracking change tool, which is where you track all the changes that you've made to your site, all in one place with a lot of short videos. So that's a little bit about the science, a little bit about habitat mapping and digital tools. And now I'm going to pass on to Victor.
Thank you very much, Tom. So what is available as part of the Nature Park? Well, Learning Through Landscapes, one of the partners on the project, they worked with some Pathfinder schools and broke down participation into these 5 steps. So step 1 is all about getting to know your space. Step 2 is about identifying opportunities for enhancing nature or enhancing your students' abilities to engage with nature. Step 3 is about making decisions, what to do about the opportunities that you've identified. Then step 4 is about making change happen, and step 5 is about recording that change using the tools that Tom identified. One, so that we can really have an objective measure of the impact that we're having, but also so that learners and settings, you can celebrate your achievements. So we've developed a whole library of resources to facilitate student leadership in the Nature Park. We're really keen that students aren't just, along for the ride. We really want them to be actively involved in the decision-making process. The other thing we've developed is support for embedding climate and nature education into the curriculum, because again, we're really keen that participation in this and doing climate and nature education, we don't want it to be an extra thing that teachers are asked to do. We want it to be really embedded in your regular curriculum teaching, so it's just a natural part of what it is that you're doing already. There's also a whole suite of digital tools, which again, Tom outlined, for measuring land use and biodiversity, and we've developed guidance on enhancing school grounds for nature. All of these can be found in the resource library. So this is a large and ever-growing library of curriculum-aligned resources. These have all been through a quality assurance process as well. And what this process involves is, first off, any resource that has any kind of climate education content, that's checked and verified by the Royal Meteorological Society. Community science resources, they're reviewed by the researchers and the team here at the Natural History Museum. And the resources are also designed and checked to make sure that they align with the Nature Park Climate Education Framework. And again, they're checked with our partners at the Royal Horticultural Society to make sure that they're really high quality resources. So here I wanted to spotlight a couple of resources just to give you a flavor of what's available in the resource library. So this first one here is called Introduction to Habitats. It's designed to be adjustable for key stages 1 and 2, and this resource is all about exploring habitats with a focus on the diverse range of habitats that can be found across the UK. It's about connecting the needs of animals and plants to their local environment. So here you can see at the top, there's just some pictures of woodlands, but we ask students to kind of pay attention to the similarities between different types of broadleaf woodland maybe, and then looking at differences between evergreened, broadleafed, and temperate rainforests. And all of that kind of is a normal exploration of the habitats topic within the science curriculum, but also it's designed so that you can follow on with this activity with habitat mapping, so that learners have a chance to practice their skills now at noticing similarities and differences and identifying what's going on in the habitat. You can practice those skills in the real world on your site to make more informed decisions about what you'd like to do. This next resource is all about guidance and decision making. So now that you've mapped the habitats that are on your site, you've learned about the needs of different living things, you can use this resource, which is called Ideas for Improvement. This resource presents a range of challenges and opportunities that you might experience on your site. It kind of presents them to you in a series of these little cards. And this one's designed to kind of encourage design thinking and to support discussion of ideas and solutions that might be effective, suitable, and feasible for your site. So you can see on each of the cards, we've kind of scored them on various metrics that might be relevant to you, like well-being, how good is that intervention for wildlife, or how useful is it for climate adaptation, how fun is it, so that your students can kind of so that the students have something to get the conversation started in terms of what they would like to do once they've identified opportunities. But Nature Park is not just for primary, so this next resource is adjustable for key stages 3 and 4. It's called Habitats, Biotic, and Abiotic Factors. So it's the same habitats and ecosystem content as before, but this time tailored for these upper key stages here. So it presents you with profiles of 9 different habitats outlining their abiotic factors and their plant communities. There's also 6 animal communities, some of which are more specialist than others. And the idea here is to encourage learners to think about how the abiotic factors in an area shape the plant communities, and how those plant communities in turn shape the animal community that can be found within a habitat, within an ecosystem. And again, the idea is that it kind of gives learners a bit of context that they can then follow on with the habitat mapping activity, so they apply their new knowledge into the real world. And then at these upper key stages, there's suggestion, another way in which you can use this particular resource is to kind of look at how your setting fits into the broader environment. So here I focused in on one particular species that I highlighted in the development of this. This is part of my testing process when I was developing this. So this is the Adonis blue butterfly, beautiful blue butterfly, and it's a calcareous grassland specialist, so soils that are based on chalk. And its caterpillars are dependent on the horseshoe vetch, which is the yellowish plant that you can see down in the corner. And what I did is I went to iNaturalist, which is one of the community science tools that is highlighted within the Nature Park program. And I looked up the Adonis blue butterfly, and here you can see a map of where observations of this butterfly have been made within the UK. Then we've got the Nature Park map, and the Nature Park map, which is coming soon, has this geology layer here. And when we overlay the 2 maps, we find that the association with chalk geology is really clear. So that's nice, that theoretically the Adonis butterfly is a chalkland specialist, and when we combine it with the geology, we can see that it is indeed found in areas with chalk geology. But then I noticed these 2 observations that were not on chalk, and this was a bit unexpected, and so I decided to investigate them a little bit more closely. And these are the 2 observations. And when I looked at the photos, I noticed that the fringes of the wings are missing a diagnostic marking. They're not checkerboard like the Adonis blue is supposed to be. And so what this means is that I had an opportunity to really contribute to science, to contribute to our understanding of where this species is found. Because these 2 observations were not of the Adonis blue, they were of the common blue butterfly. So a related species, but not the highly specialist Adonis blue species. They were common blue. So these observations could be given the correct identification, and this also means that we can make better informed biodiversity enhancement decisions. So rather than doing something in the area to try and support these little pockets of potential Adonis blue butterfly, when in reality the plants that they depend on and the species wouldn't be supported by the underlying geology, we could make different choices. But equally at your setting, you might find that actually your setting is situated between pockets or near pockets of, really specialist species, in which case you might choose to do something on your site that helps to connect these populations, so that provides them with the specialist thing that these animals need in order to move from one suitable habitat to another, to form that kind of that chain, that stepping stones between suitable habitats. So what else is coming? We are, as Jess mentioned, always producing more resources. So some things that are coming out really soon is the Nature Park map, which is where you'll be able to visualize all the various different types of habitat and biodiversity data that's coming in from participating schools. We've also got math resources, which were co-developed with learners and education researchers coming down the line. And then computing, arts, and primary geography resources will be coming out towards the new year. But in the meantime, expect little things to also be trickling into the resource library, some of which might get spotlighted in the newsletter. So if you're not signed up for the newsletter, please do, and that'll keep you up to date. And with that, I'm going to hand back to Jess.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you as well, Tom, for joining me today. Lots of information in there, lots of things coming up. So I hope that's whetted your appetite for getting stuck in with Nature Park this year, whether you're new or been doing it for a while, whatever your interests, whatever setting or key stage you're from. I hope we've showed you that there's something for everyone here. Thank you to Laura and Tegan as well for running the webinar and managing the Q&A. I saw some activity in there, so hopefully you've had your questions answered. There are also FAQs, frequently asked questions, web page we've got as well. So there's lots of, as you can see here with our logos on the bottom left, there's lots of other colleagues as well across all of our organisations working really hard behind the scenes, bringing all sorts of skills and expertise together. And lots of people on the ground as well, working with schools to get them involved in Nature Park. So a real collaborative effort. And yeah, we're really lucky to be working together on this project. So thank you for joining us. We realise this is a really busy time of year, so very grateful you found the time to join. As mentioned, we're recording. We always record our webinars, so they're on our YouTube channel, so you can watch back or share the link with colleagues. Also put there our mailbox, so that's for any general questions about the programme, but you can also reach out to your local regional team. There's the web link there and it lists all the 9 regional teams' mailboxes, so you can get in touch with them if you haven't already, and give us a follow on LinkedIn. That's our main social media comms tools, so we're posting quite regularly on there. So we'll let you get on with your days, and thank you so much again. We'll see you soon. Have fun with Nature Park.